then my first year at FullContact, we built a small team and we generated about $100,000 in annual recurring revenue, specifically selling into India and APAC. It was, I think, one of the hardest years of my life because I realized India is not the market to sell into. It's super difficult. 100K itta effort ഞാൻ ഇന്ന് പോലും ഇടാറില്ല to drive multiples in revenue. I don't think I've struggled as. പക്ഷേ we listen to feedback. We ask questions. We ask people what are the things that you care about? What are the things that you want to buy from us? What would make this easier than you doing this in-house? And then every 6 months, I also recommend this if you do enterprise sales, every 6 months, it is worth it to increase prices by a bit. You have to justify why you're increasing the prices. You need to have maybe features, you need to have other alarm. But if your product today is $500, you should be able to bring it up to $750 in 6 to 8 months. The customers that pay the most are your best customers. The customers who are willing to pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars will be your nicest customers. Payments will be done on time. They're the most gentle people to work with. Whereas somebody paying you $50 per month will make you run through hell. To get the best deal possible for the company. And these are amazing people. If you look at them, while you're not interacting with them, you will be like, oh, പൊളി, ഇത്രയും വലിയ ഒരാളെ ഞാൻ കണ്ടിട്ടില്ല എന്നൊരു സംഭവം. പക്ഷേ once you interact with them, you're like, oh, മടുത്ത് പണ്ടാറടെ എങ്ങനെയും I want to get out of this. Okay, you take it for free. I don't care എന്നൊരു സംഭവം വരും. I've gone through procurement a few times. ഞങ്ങളൊരു കാർ മേടിച്ചു കാനഡയിൽ. കാർ മേടിച്ചപ്പോൾ സെക്കൻഡ് ഹാൻഡ് കാർ മേടിക്കുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ യൂസ്ഡ് കാർ സെയിൽസ്മെൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു ഒരു ഫിനോമിനൻ ഉണ്ട് US-ൽ. ഇഫ് യു സെർച്ച് ഓൺ റെഡിറ്റ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ യൂട്യൂബിലൊക്കെ പോയി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഒരു ടാക്ടിക് കാണും. എന്താണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മൾ അവിടെ ചെന്ന് കഴിയുമ്പോൾ ഓക്കെ വരൂ, എന്താണ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കാർ മേടിക്കാനുള്ളത്? ഓക്കെ, ഈ കാർ ഇന്ന് പോകും, നിങ്ങൾ ഇന്ന് ഇത് ഓർഡർ ചെയ്തില്ലെങ്കിൽ ഈ സംഭവം പോകും, ഒരു ഡിപ്പോസിറ്റ് തരും, അത് ഇറ്റ്സ് എ വെരി അഗ്രസീവ്, ഒരു സ്ലീസി വേ ഓഫ് സെല്ലിംഗ് ആണ്. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്കൊരു ഒന്ന് കുടിച്ചിട്ട് വരാം ആ ഒരു മൈൻഡ് സെറ്റ് ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്തു.
KPH Masterclass. അപ്പോൾ ഇന്ന് നമ്മളൊപ്പം ഉള്ളത് അശ്വിൻ ഷിബു ആണ്. അശ്വിൻ ഷിബുവിന്റെ കേസ് പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ പ്രൊഫൗണ്ടിസിൽ അശ്വിൻ ഷിബു ആക്ച്വലി സ്റ്റോറി ഷെയർ ചെയ്യും. ബട്ട് ക്വിക്കായിട്ട് പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ പ്രൊഫൗണ്ടിസ് എന്ന കമ്പനിയിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്തു, ദെൻ FullContact, ദെൻ മൂവ് ടു US, ദെൻ MixRank എന്ന കമ്പനിയിൽ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തു. ഇവൻച്വലി വർക്ക് ദ വേ അപ്പ് ടു ബിക്കം ദ co-founder over there, and they're doing revenue. I also showing revenue. ഈ മാസ്റ്റർ ക്ലാസിന്റെ ഇന്റൻഷൻ ഈസ് they will open up their books. അതായത് വേറെ എവിടെയും കാണിക്കാൻ പറ്റും. ഇത് ആക്ച്വലി നമ്മൾ വീഡിയോയിൽ വരുന്നുണ്ടാവില്ല, വീഡിയോ വിൽ ബി ബ്ലറിംഗ് ഇറ്റ് ഔട്ട് ആൻഡ് ഓൾ, ബട്ട് യു വിൽ ബി ഗെറ്റിംഗ് ടു സീ ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് അതർ ഇൻസൈറ്റ്.
To an extent, yeah. I ask, please keep confidential.
ആരും ഫോട്ടോസ് ഒന്നും എടുക്കരുത്. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് എ ഹോൾ തിങ്, ബിക്കോസ് ആക്ച്വൽ നമ്പേഴ്സും റിയൽ സാധനങ്ങളാണ് നമ്മൾ ഷെയർ ചെയ്യുന്നത്, വിച്ച് അതർവൈസ് പബ്ലിക് നമുക്ക് ഷെയർ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റാത്തത്. സോ ഇത് ഇൻഡെപ്ത് സെഷൻ ആയിരിക്കും. അപ്പോൾ ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ദ തിങ്. ഓക്കെ, അപ്പോൾ അത് തന്നെയല്ലോ. അപ്പോൾ ദെൻ ഐ തിങ്ക് കുറച്ചുകൂടി ആൾക്കാർ വരാറുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ ഇനിയും കുറച്ച് ബേബി ജസ്റ്റ് ഒരു ഇൻട്രഡക്ഷൻ വേണമെങ്കിൽ ചെയ്യണോ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ലെറ്റ്സ് ഗെറ്റ് സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ?
Oh sure, I was just asking everybody questions. അപ്പോൾ ആർക്കെങ്കിലും
അപ്പോൾ ഇതിൽ സെഷനിൽ ചിലപ്പോൾ ചില ടോപ്പിക്സ് റെലവെന്റ് അല്ലാത്താണെങ്കിൽ ഐ സെൻഡ് ടു അനദർ മാസ്റ്റർ ക്ലാസ്. ASOന്റെ ASOം B2C ഒക്കെ മൈറ്റ് ബി ഫോർ അനദർ മാസ്റ്റർ ക്ലാസ്. അപ്പോൾ അത് സ്പെസിഫിക് ആക്കാം. ബട്ട് ആസ് ഫോർ ദിസ് വി ക്യാൻ സ്റ്റിക്ക് ടു ദ ടോപ്പിക്. അതായിരിക്കും ഇത് ഹോൾ ഐഡിയ. ഓക്കെ, നമുക്കിപ്പോൾ ഒഫീഷ്യലി സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യാം. ഐ തിങ്ക് വിൽ ബി സ്റ്റാർട്ടിങ് ഇറ്റ്. വേണമെങ്കിൽ കുറച്ച് വൺ റൗണ്ട് ഓഫ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് വേണമെങ്കിൽ ചോദിക്കും.
അപ്പം instead of maybe going round by round, ഇനിയും if anybody has any other questions അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എന്തെങ്കിലും സ്പെസിഫിക് ടോപ്പിക്സ് കവർ ചെയ്യണമെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഈ ഒരു സെഷനിൽ I can write them down and do my best to cover them. I don't think I'll have answers for all of these questions. പക്ഷെ കുറേയൊക്കെ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്, കുറേയൊക്കെ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. So I should be able to help in some ways. Anybody has anything else that you would like to add? Yes, please.
My objective is to know how to start from day 0 to very considerable number of customers.
How to start from 0 to 1, no? Other 0 to 10 customers, sir.
0 to, let's say, 10, 50 customers first.
But do you have a few customers? Because I can't help you to go from 0 to 1.
എനിക്ക് വേറെ രീതി പറഞ്ഞാൽ എനിക്ക് പ്രൊഡക്റ്റ് ബിൽഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ അറിയാം, പക്ഷേ വിൽക്കാൻ അറിയാം.
Oh sure, yeah. That we can cover, yeah. Because I think there are smarter people than me who can help you figure out product market fit, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ how to go from 0 to 1.
Last masterclass 0 to 1 Arjun mode software. Yeah. അത് ഇവിടെ റെക്കോർഡ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്, അത് റിലീസ് ആവും. ഒരു ടോപ്പിക് ആവും. ഈ ടോപ്പിക് വിൽ ബി മോർ അഡ്വാൻസ് ടോപ്പിക്.
I think Felix പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ I think I can help. A lot of my specialty is around once you know you can sell something to 5 to 10 customers, how do you scale to next 50? Or how do you scale to 100? because these two things are different from how do you get to that first point എന്നുള്ളൊരു സംഭവം. So I think some general advice ഉണ്ടാവും, പക്ഷേ I guess അർജുൻ്റെ ആ ഒരു സെഷൻ ആയിരിക്കും might be more impactful. Background about myself before we get started. I was graduated from Chenganur College of Engineering, Chenganur 2014. I was involved quite a bit with IEEE. I founded Robotics and Automation Society in my college. My first startup, I graduated out of college on that company, Sushef and a company, and it was a kitchen automation robot. So I have some embedded experience. And we built a machine that could cook breakfast. We got into Startup Chili. And that company spectacularly burst into flames because nobody was willing to put a lot of money in. Our time, the hardware was the big trend, but nobody would put any money in. I joined Profoundis a bit after that. I joined there without any title. Title ഒന്നുമില്ല, നേരെ വന്നിട്ട് എന്ത് പണിയും ചെയ്യുന്നുള്ള ഒരു title ആയിരുന്നു. I then naturally fell into sales because it came very easy to me. And so I started doing sales, head of sales, APAC എന്നൊക്കെയാണ് എൻ്റെ ടൈറ്റിൽ. പക്ഷേ അവിടെ പ്രത്യേകിച്ചൊന്നുമില്ല, അർജുനും ഞാനുമായിരുന്നു പരിപാടിയെല്ലാം ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നത്. എന്നിട്ട് I think a year or so after that we got acquired by FullContact. And then my first year at FullContact we built a small team and we generated about $100 in annual recurring revenue, specifically selling into India and APAC. It was, I think, one of the hardest years of my life because I realized India is not the market to sell into. It's super difficult. ഇട്ട എഫേർട്ട് ഞാൻ ഇന്ന് പോലും ഇടാറില്ല to drive multiples in revenue. I don't think I've struggled as much. 2018 is when I joined MixRank. So I left FullContact, I think a year or so after Arjun left. In that I joined MixRank. At the time when I joined MixRank, രണ്ടുപേരെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നുള്ളൂ. One was Scott. He is the CTO and CEO. Still, both of those titles belong to him. And we had a part-time person who was handling operations. So I joined in 2018. So I got connected to MixRank through Arjun. So Arjun was, MixRank is also a data company. Profoundis and FullContact are all data companies. So, the list of data companies is very small if you look at it. And I'll show you like a lot of the tools that you guys use today. You'll be surprised to see where the data comes from. The short answer is from us. It's a very small space. And so I got intro to Scott through Arjun. We spoke for, I think, about 6 hours. 6 manikkur kondu we decided there is something here, and so we should try and see where this goes. And so I joined the company in 2018. But the company has been around since 2011. Company ഈ പറയുന്ന കുറേ hype സാധനങ്ങളെല്ലാം ഉണ്ട്. Y Combinator കൂടെ പോയി in 2011. We raised a few $100,000 from Mark Cuban. ഈ പറയുന്ന പോലെ ഫൈൻഡ് സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്സ്, അങ്ങനെ കുറച്ചേറെ മാർക്കി ഇൻവെസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് എല്ലാം ഉണ്ട്. ഞാൻ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തപ്പോൾ ഒക്കെ കത്തി തീർന്നു, പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് കാശൊന്നുമില്ലായിരുന്നു. കമ്പനി വാസ് ഡൂയിങ് a small amount of revenue at the time. This is one person, Scott, and then one other person part-time. Within the first 14 to I think 15 months of me joining, we doubled the revenue at the company. ഞാൻ സ്കോട്ടും മാത്രം. എന്നിട്ട് since then, every year afterwards, we've grown 50% year over year in both things. On the revenue, we've grown 50% year over year, as well as the number of people that we've hired has also grown. Today, we are about 55 people. We just sent out an offer yesterday. 55 പേരെങ്ങാണ്ടുണ്ട് across 22 countries. So we've got people all across the world. ഏറ്റവും അറ്റത്ത് നോക്കിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ we've got somebody in South Korea. And then we've got Scott, who sits in San Francisco, Bay Area. So we've got people all across the world. It's a nice feeling to build a truly distributed company. You learn a lot of things. You learn how to communicate better because I guess one of the big learnings that I had was Slack. Kore peri use or at least I used to use Slack as this very instant thing. Message ayikkunnu ipo thanne enikku response vedanamnallo oru sambhavam. Today at the company, we don't do that. We send very long messages so that people can read them, analyze them, understand them, and then send very thoughtful responses back. ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഡെയിലി വർക്ക് ഫ്ലോ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ 2000 വേർഡ്സിന്റെ ബ്ലോഗ് പോസ്റ്റ് എഴുതുന്ന പോലെ വി റൈറ്റ് ഇന്റേണൽ മെസ്സേജസ് ടു ടീംസ് അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും ടോക്കിംഗ് അബൌട്ട് ദ പ്രോസ് കോൺസ്. സോ ഇറ്റ്സ് വർക്കിംഗ് റിമോട്ട്ലി വിൽ ചേഞ്ച് എ ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് ദോസ് കൈൻഡ് ഓഫ് തിങ്സ് ഫോർ യു. ദാറ്റ് ഐ തിങ്ക് ഇസ് വെരി ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ്.
So each of these countries you have presence. There are two things. One, do you visit them once in a while?
Good question. We don't because it's a lot of money. അതുകൊണ്ട് we're still too small. I've seen a lot of companies do മറ്റേ ഓഫ് സൈറ്റ്സ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ പറയുന്ന പോലെ ഗെറ്റ് ടുഗദേഴ്സ് അങ്ങനെയുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം. We looked at it. I think it costs about $1,000 if you were to bring a visa, travel, accommodation എല്ലാം കൂടെ കൂട്ടിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അത്രയും കാശ് മുടക്കും. If you ask us at the stage where we are today is dollars spent on meeting people is the right thing to do in the future? I don't think so. So we're not going to do it. What we do instead is we'll find hubs that people can all travel to. But US North America, South America, എല്ലാവർക്കും വരാൻ പറ്റും. ഇന്ത്യയിലാണെങ്കിൽ ഇന്ത്യയുടെ അടുത്തുള്ള എല്ലായിടത്തും വരാൻ പറ്റും. യൂറോപ്പിൽ എവിടെയെങ്കിലും ആണെങ്കിൽ യൂറോപ്പിലുള്ള എല്ലാവർക്കും വരാൻ പറ്റും. I've done that. Scott hasn't still done that. But I do it intentionally wherever possible എവിടെയെങ്കിലും പോകും because it's a lot more easier for us to bring.
Hiring, you meet them or just all online?
Fully online. Fully online. We'll have multiple rounds, but everything is online. And so going back to this thing, 50% revenue, and then one of the biggest things that I think we feel very proud about is the whole fact that we are profitable. We turned profitable about 5 years ago. We have money in the bank. It's something that we're very proud of. We don't take investor money. We have no plans of taking any more investor money. And we are in a very good, I want to say, everything good, position. And I think that gives you so much comfort, that gives you so much freedom to experiment with things that you would not normally do. Like younger space, we go up against competitors that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars. To compete, you need something to stand out against them. And I think being profitable and almost bootstrap gives us that big edge where we can go into sales calls. And I think that's the same thing that everybody here can do. Because the cost for us to do things is not substantially high. Like if you're competing with a company that's based in Silicon Valley, you have so much advantage that you can use in these kind of sales conversations. And I'll talk about like some of the things that I do when I'm on some of these calls. So this is the product that we used to sell. It's going on now. It's just at the time when we started building this, it was a Zoom Info competitor or somewhere, where you have technographics data. I don't know if this is relevant, but what we do essentially is we scan all of the apps on the App Store and Play Store, and then the apps you see in the permissions, apps you see in the SDKs, apps you see in the apps in download data, revenue information, capture we built a platform around it. So if you want to look for all of the apps that use Wangle, the advertising SDK, SDK using apps in a you could create this list in the app. This was the early product. This was more of like a list building solution for salespeople and marketers where they could go in. We would sell this to typical SDK companies, mobile SDK companies, where they wanted to know who their competitors were being used by. If I go in here and I search for Wangle, let's see. Any apps that were using Twilio, for instance. If you're building a SMS solution or if you're building a voice API solution and you wanted to list out every app that uses Twilio today, this is a full list of all of the apps that use Twilio. This was the early product. We sold this to salespeople and marketers as well as these very large companies that wanted business development use cases. And they had big lists or they wanted to get targeted lists that they could go after. This was a product when I joined the average deal size for us was around dollars ACV per year. It varies between $1,000, $1,200, $2,500. This is MixRank the first product. This was, I think, dollars in the ACV and we had a couple of problems with this product. One was, we were selling this to business development reps. Ellarkum value gaanam. Like everybody would equate this to, if you sell a sales tool, at the end of the day, people want to see ROI. If they're not seeing ROI, they're not going to spend money. But we found a lot of challenges because we were competing against Zoom Info, we were competing against Apollo, we were competing against everybody else. But we didn't have contact data. Contact data was not our biggest strength. Our biggest strength it was technographics data, where we would show apps and we would show SDKs about the apps. This was the early product for a while. We still have the product, but we don't prioritize selling it anymore. We at some point decided to switch to something else, and the something else I'll show you right now. And one of the big realizations we had at the time was we sort of figured out that we needed to go upstream. Like selling dollars and product was never going to help us get to multi-million dollars in revenue. At least we were a small company. We didn't like the idea of freemium. We are not a fan of creating freemium experiences, especially because it's data. Data companies ഏറ്റവും വലിയ പ്രശ്നം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ freemium വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ 10 അക്കൗണ്ട് വെച്ചിട്ട് എല്ലാവരും വന്ന ഓരോ സാധനം മേടിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് പോയി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ nobody pays you any money, nobody will come back to you. So we sort of had a lot of problems. One, we didn't want a freemium experience. Two, we didn't want to build a very large sales team. If you Oracle or ZoomInfo, you look at any of the companies that have raised a lot of money, you'll see that the sales team is the biggest department at all of these companies. Second biggest department is legal. Third biggest department is marketing. Fourth is engineering. ഞങ്ങളുടെ കമ്പനിയിൽ 50% of the team is engineering, 50% is GTM and ops. So we had to figure out a way to get ourselves out of this space. ഈ ഒരു ടാർഗറ്റ് സോണിൽ നിന്ന് എങ്ങനെ പോകുന്നത് ഞങ്ങളിങ്ങനെ ആലോചിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. We approached it in a different way than I think a lot of people do. We thought, what can we sell for 100K? This became the conversation that we started thinking about. How can we sell this to these people? How can we increase the money? We really just flipped the whole equation. We thought, what is the product that we can build that people will buy for 100K? 100K, you're not going to sell a sales tool, because sales tools, they're all, I think ZoomInfo starts at around 15K or 12, year price range ZoomInfo. And then if you sell ZoomInfo to a very large company, you'll make a few $1 million. But that requires enterprise sales, that requires a lot of these things. And so we realized sales space, it's very hard for us to compete. And we wanted to figure out which department can we sell the same data. Right, the data that we had at the time was we were scanning apps, we were scanning websites, we had some amount of contact data, we were crawling the web, we were crawling sources like LinkedIn, Indeed, GitHub, അങ്ങനെയുള്ള സ്ഥലങ്ങളെല്ലാം crawl ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഈ പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോം ബിൽഡ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയായിരുന്നു. And then we decided with the same data, who can we target, who can we approach that would get us to that 100K mark. And so we realized a couple of things. One, we had to sell this to companies where data was the core principle for them. So one of the realizations we had was the best type of companies we could sell to were data companies themselves. And all of our competitors suddenly became customers in our mind. We decided the way to give people access to this data is not through a platform experience, not through APIs, but through raw data. So we sort of had, we approached one of our nearest competitors and we asked that competitor, would you buy LinkedIn data from us? LinkedIn data, publicly available LinkedIn data from us. Would you buy it? And so they told us, illa, because this is what we do, this is how much we spend, this is all of the effort that we put into this. And we told them, if we were to beat that price, would you buy? And they're like, yeah, it's such a big pain point. Crawling LinkedIn is such a big pain point for us as a sales tool that we would pay money, but it has to be really good. It has to be better than what we do. It has to be cheaper than what we do. Angane, we spoke to somebody and then we launched a product. The first time we sold a LinkedIn dataset product was, I think, about per month item. So comes out to, I think, ACV. This was, I think, the first deal that we did at the time. For pretty much the same thing. Since then, we've had a lot of complexities. At the start, this is what we pitched the product for. People jumped at this. People were like, this is insane. We will immediately buy this. So that was a big revelation for us, that data companies exist, or pretty much every company in the sales tech, marketing space, recruitment space, and so many other spaces that we'll get into. So many companies exist that want this data, that will build this sort of thing internally, or they are willing to buy it, provided you can meet all of their conditions, all of their criteria. Angane we sold the first product ivide. We sold it to a couple of customers. One of them had objections about price, the other person didn't have objections about price. We decided, cool, this price doesn't work anymore. So we decided to sell it at K. We were still going up against a few other vendors. We were still the cheapest vendor out there, but we were supplying better data. We managed to get a few deals. Out of there, we decided, let's make this. Okay. It's not the same product anymore. So don't think of it as, the same product that we are repackaging it and selling it for double. We listen to feedback. We ask questions. We ask people, what are the things that you care about? What are the things that you want to buy from us? What would make this easier than you doing this in-house? And then every 6 months, I also recommend this if you do enterprise sales, every 6 months, it is worth it to increase prices by a bit. You have to justify why you're increasing the prices. You need to have maybe features. You need to have other alarm. But if your product today is $500, you should be able to bring it up to $750 in 6 to 8 months, right? The difference between somebody paying you $500 versus somebody paying you $750, it's not much from the customer's perspective. Because if you're going to add 5 other things on top of it, you might as well increase prices. And I think increasing prices has 2 things. One, it keeps you on your toes because you need to find out ways to justify internally on why the price needs to increase. And that will lead to improvement in your product quality and it just gets better. Oru hypothesis or, one sort of realization that we've had is, I don't know if anybody else will share the same feeling. The customers that pay the most are your best customers. The customers who are willing to pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars will be your nicest customers. Payments will be done on time. They're the most gentle people to work with. Whereas somebody paying you $50 per month will make you run through hell. I don't know. Has this been the same for everybody? And so, why would you sell a cheap product? Became the sort of thing that we started thinking about. You shouldn't think of yourself as the cheapest product because you will only attract people who care about price. And that's a sort of mentality flip that we had. Where if you decide the product is going to be 10x better, Todakathil it's fine to be cheap, right? Todakathil you want market share, you want customers, you're desperate for more revenue. It's totally fine. But you can never be the cheapest product in the market because people will always associate cost with your product. Today when we sell, MixRank is selling we're not the cheapest product. We are, I think, one of the, if not the most expensive product in the data space. Openly, people come to us for a discount and we tell people, if you want the lowest price, go to this vendor. They will give you the best price. If you want the highest data quality, you come to us. In the Varanya, we've had people where we've told them, go to these people, we want to buy from you because data is what's most important at the end of the day. In the Varaya. So, I would say, I know this is going tangentially, but when you think about price, you should think about it as, at some point, you have to be the most expensive solution out there, and you need to justify why. Confidence. That's where you really start closing a lot of these enterprise deals. Because enterprise, there is no price sensitivity. I can tell you this right now, there is no price sensitivity if you're selling into enterprise. If you solve somebody's problem, they will pay you $1 million. Or a customer $1 million pay. I've heard of multiple scenarios where people pay $1 million plus if they absolutely solve your problem. You don't need $1 million. You can totally do $1,000 per month deal. You can totally do a $2,000 per month deal. So if you have products in the SaaS space, I would encourage you to also think about maybe 100K starting point might be difficult if you're just doing a SaaS. I think what worked for us is we were selling a data feed product. It became a lot more easier for us. But you should also think about what is the highest I can charge in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. And then flip it and think who will buy this. And flip it and think what will they buy. And we just repackaged the whole thing. We were crawling data. We were building a platform. We decided we would just take the same data. We would sell it to VPs of products and CTOs and engineering teams at these very large companies as opposed to salespeople. And we started getting into conversations where some of the customers for us became very large data companies where data was crucial for them. Appo stickiness kudi, churn varanju, average customer ticket sizes kandavanam kudi. Every metric began moving in the right direction once we unlocked enterprise. So
sales cycle actually.
Sales cycle yes. Sales cycle sometimes. The fastest deal that we closed took us 2 weeks. Where the vendor came in, they're like, oh, we've heard from 3 people that you guys are the best. Enterprises love multi-year terms. It's something that surprisingly, the most common deals that we sign now are 2-year or 3-year contracts. Because people like stability. They were like, oh, these guys know what they're talking about. Like enterprises really like lock-in. They like price. They like knowing what the price will be next year. So, there's one thing that we do, which is very interesting. We buy out competition. We a customer, a prospect, everything is good. Unfortunately, we have a contract with another vendor for 4 more months. what if we sign the contract today? അടുത്ത 4 months we pay you, you pay us $0, right? So you don't have a pain of switching. You don't have any of these things. ഞങ്ങളുടെ മനസ്സിൽ ആലോചിക്കുന്നത് ഇപ്പൊ സെല് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ 4 മാസം കഴിഞ്ഞ് സെല് ചെയ്യേണ്ട ആവശ്യമില്ല. It's just 4 months that we are giving up for free, and people switch, and it's awesome because they will go to the other vendor at the last month and tell them buy. പക്ഷെ ആ ഒരു സമയത്ത് the other vendor will be like, okay, we'll give you a discount. അത് ചെയ്ത് they're like, no, we already signed a contract with MixRank എന്ന് പറയും. So we sign term contracts with people, especially if they have another competitor. Yeah.
And the initial in 2005 when you started with those clients, and now you're talking you do like $15,000 to $20,000 a month.
Yeah.
So have you increased their prices as well?
No.
You've kept
all of our early customers still enjoy the same price. We don't increase prices for anybody. There's two things. I guess one of the philosophy for us is you put the trust on us. ആ ഒരു സമയത്തിൽ you decided to choose us over everybody else. അന്ന് ഞങ്ങൾ ഇൻകംബൻസ് അല്ലായിരുന്നു. Incumbents were very large companies. We compete with companies that have raised $100 million, $40 million ഒക്കെ റേസ് ചെയ്ത കമ്പനീസായിട്ട് ഞങ്ങൾ കമ്പീറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. And we have just 200K in the bank. ആ ഒരു സമയത്തുണ്ടായിരുന്നു ഞങ്ങൾ കമ്പീറ്റ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നത്. So if people decide to put our trust in us, we are like, no, whatever happens, as long as possible, we will honor this price. ചിലർക്ക് ഞങ്ങൾ പ്രൈസ് കൂട്ടിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. പക്ഷെ those were painful customers. പക്ഷെ all of our happiest customers who worked with us for I think 6 or 7 years at this point, they still pay the same price. I think having low prices is a very fine principle if you're starting off. Start off AMM, you don't have brand, you don't have and nobody knows you, nobody can vouch for you. All you have is you think you have a product which is 10 times better than your nearest competitor. And you have margins. India doesn't operate AMA, you have a lot more margin than somebody that's in the US. So you need to discount. You need to give people a reason to switch. Paksha, once you land your first few customers, it's totally fine for you to increase costs. Consistently, ഞങ്ങൾ കോൾസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന 45-minute calls ആണ് ഞങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യുന്നത് കസ്റ്റമേഴ്സ് പ്രോസ്പെക്ട്സുമായിട്ട്. ഈ ഒരു കോൾ കഴിയുമ്പോൾ കസ്റ്റമേഴ്സ് ഞങ്ങൾ യു ഗൈസ് ആർ പെർഹാപ്സ് ദ മോസ്റ്റ് ട്രാൻസ്പെറന്റ് പീപ്പിൾ വി വർക്ക് വിത്ത്. സംഭവം എന്നാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ വി ഡോണ്ട് സെൽ, വി ഡോണ്ട് എന്താ പറയുന്നത്, വി വിൻ ഡീൽസ് വിത്തൗട്ട് ബീങ് അഗ്രസീവ്, വി വിൻ ഡീൽസ് വിത്തൗട്ട് ബീങ് ലൈക്ക് വെൻ വിൽ യു ബൈ, വാട്ട് വിൽ യു ബൈ, വാട്ട്സ് യുവർ ബഡ്ജറ്റ്, അങ്ങനത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം ചോദിക്കുന്നതിന് ഞങ്ങൾ കോൾ കയറിയിട്ട് വാട്ട് ഇസ് ഇറ്റ് ദാറ്റ് യു ലുക്കിംഗ് ഫോർ, ഓക്കെ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇത് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും, ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇത് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റത്തില്ല എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ വളരെ സിമ്പിൾ കാര്യങ്ങൾ വിത്തൗട്ട് പ്രഷർ സിറ്റുവേഷൻ ചെയ്ത് കഴിയുമ്പം എന്റർപ്രൈസസ് അപ്രീഷിയേറ്റഡ് ആൻഡ് ഐ തിങ്ക് ദാറ്റ് ബിൽഡ്സ് ട്രസ്റ്റ്. People only buy from people you can trust, right? So our trust കൊടുക്കുകയാണ്. There's this whole US പോയിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ, and I only went through this recently. ഞങ്ങളൊരു കാർ മേടിച്ചു കാനഡയിൽ. കാർ മേടിച്ചപ്പോൾ സെക്കൻഡ് ഹാൻഡ് കാറാ. കാർ മേടിക്കുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ യൂസ്ഡ് കാർ സെയിൽസ്മെൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു ഫിനോമിനൻ ഉണ്ട് US-ൽ. ഇഫ് യു സെർച്ച് ഓൺ റെഡിറ്റ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ യൂട്യൂബിലൊക്കെ പോയി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഒരു ടാക്ടിക് കാണും. എന്താ പറയുക, നമ്മൾ അവിടെ ചെന്ന് കഴിയുമ്പോൾ ഓക്കെ വരൂ, എന്താണ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കാർ മേടിക്കാനുള്ളത്, ഓക്കെ ഈ കാർ ഇന്ന് പോവും, നിങ്ങൾ ഇന്ന് ഇത് ഓർഡർ ചെയ്തില്ലെങ്കിൽ ഈ സംഭവം പോകും, ഒരു ഡിപ്പോസിറ്റ് തരും, അത് ചെയ്യാൻ മറിച്ച്. ഇറ്റ്സ് എ വെരി അഗ്രസീവ്, വെരി ഹൈ പ്രഷർ ലോക്ക് ഇൻ, ഒരു സ്ലീസി വേ ഓഫ് സെല്ലിംഗ് ആണ്. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്കൊരു അത് കുടിച്ചിട്ട് വരാം ആ ഒരു മൈൻഡ് സെറ്റ് ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യും. യു ഷുഡ് ടേക്ക് എ ലുക്ക് അറ്റ് ദിസ്. നമ്മുടെ ആരൊക്കെയാ, ഗ്രാൻഡ് കാർഡോൺ, പിന്നെ ആരാ, വലിയ വലിയ സെയിൽസ് ഗുരൂസ് ഒക്കെ ഇല്ലേ, ഇവരെല്ലാവരും കോച്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ഈ കാർ സെയിൽസ്മെന്നെയാണ്. യൂസ്ഡ് കാർ ഡീലർഷിപ്സിലേക്കാണ് ഇവരുടെ കുറെ കോച്ചിങ് പോകുന്നത്. സോ ഇഫ് യു ലുക്ക് അറ്റ് സം ഓഫ് ദെയർ high pressure, you look at their sales courses online, you'll see a lot of these aggressive sales. And software, there is also a lot of this trickling into software, especially enterprise software. Cutthroat enterprise companies, when they compete with you, their salespeople are also very motivated to do these sort of deals. Last week, I spoke to പബ്ലിക് കമ്പനി, multi-billion dollar കമ്പനിയാ. വി ആർ ബൈയിങ് സംതിങ് ഫ്രം ദം. വലിയൊരു ഡീലൊന്നുമല്ല, ചെറിയൊരു ഡീലാണ്. പക്ഷേ ഇതെല്ലാം കോളിനകത്തിരിക്കുന്നത് പറഞ്ഞാൽ 2 sales people saying, Ashwin, I can pull all of these things for you, but before this needs to happen, I need to get a commit from you, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ you need to go talk to this, you need to. ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ പൊന്നെണ്ണ മേടിക്കൂല്ലേ എന്ന് ഞാൻ തീരുമാനിച്ചിട്ടില്ല. എന്നിട്ട് calling me every 2 days, sending me an email, aggressive email, hey, this is the least that you can do, please respond to me എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞു. And I'm like, this is a $1 billion company, അല്ലെ multi-billion dollar company. അവിടെയുള്ള ഒരു സെയിൽസ് പ്രഷർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് നമുക്കൊരുമാതിരി അങ്ങ് ഒരു ഇതായിപ്പോ. ആൻഡ് സോ വി റിയലൈസ് we will sell to enterprise, but we're not going to be that kind of a sales process. And I think that helps. അതൊരു വലിയൊരു സംഭവം. It's one of those things that I think can come very naturally to people in India, because we, I think, are generally nice to speak with. നമുക്ക് ഈ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ കുറെ ഫേക്ക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളെ കുറിച്ച് സംസാരിക്കാൻ അറിയത്തില്ല. ലൈക്ക് ഐ ഡോണ്ട് നോ ഇഫ് യു ലിസൺ ടു എ ഫ്യൂ കോൾസ്, കുറെ അമേരിക്കൻ സെയിൽസ് റെപ്സ് കയറി കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് വാട്ട്സ് ദ വെദർ ലൈക്ക്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എന്താണ് ഇന്നലത്തെ മാച്ച് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നോ, അല്ലെ മറ്റേ കോളേജ് ഫുട്ബോൾ മറ്റേ മറിച്ച് ദേ ടോക്ക് അബൌട്ട് ഓൾ ഓഫ് ദോസ് തിങ്സ്. പ്രൊഡക്റ്റിനെ കുറിച്ച് പ്രത്യേകിച്ചൊന്നും അറിയത്തില്ല. ഐ തിങ്ക് ഇറ്റ്സ് പ്രിറ്റി മച്ച് ദി ഓപ്പോസിറ്റ് ഫോർ അസ്, ബിക്കോസ് നമുക്ക് വി നോ സോ മച്ച് അബൌട്ട് ദ പ്രോഡക്റ്റ്. ഇറ്റ് ബിക്കംസ് എ ലോട്ട് മോർ ഈസിയർ ഫോർ അസ് ടു ടോക്ക് specifically about the product. But when you compete against enterprises and enterprise sales teams, you have the edge because you know more about the industry, the ecosystem, the product, and even the competitor and the customer more than the person on the other side that you're competing with. So these are all the edges that you get as a sales, if you're trying to do sales as a founder. But when you sell into enterprise, generally product champion are the person who really wants to use your product, right? This is a person that will be like, I love you guys, I want to bring you in, we want to move forward, we want to sign this today. The budget person is the guy who needs to be convinced that this is the right thing to do. Usually that's the CXO, CTO, Chief Data Officer, VP of Product, VP of Data, right? Those are the guys that will maybe hop on one call with you, maybe towards the end. നിങ്ങൾ POC ഒക്കെ ചെയ്ത് എല്ലാം ട്രയൽ എല്ലാം ചെയ്ത് വാല്യൂ എല്ലാം കിട്ടിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഏറ്റവും അവസാനത്തെ ഒരു കോൾ കയറിയിട്ട് ഓക്കെ ഷോ മി യുവർ റിസൾട്ട്സ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു ആളായിരിക്കാം ദിസ് പേഴ്സൺ ഹൂസ് ദ ബഡ്ജറ്റ് പേഴ്സൺ. ഇവർ രണ്ടുപേരും ഓക്കെ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ then they will say okay cool, let's talk to procurement എന്ന് പറയും. Procurement is some of the most cunning people I've ever worked with എന്ന് വേണേൽ ഞാൻ പറയാം. Procurement teams എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ആ teams that are out there to specifically to beat you down, to get the best deal possible for the company. And these are amazing people. If you look at them while you're not interacting with them, you will be like, oh, poli. ഇത്രയും വലിയൊരാളെ ഞാൻ കണ്ടിട്ടില്ല എന്നൊരു സംഭവം. പക്ഷെ once you interact with them, you like, oh, മടുത്ത് പണ്ടാറടെ എങ്ങനെയും I want to get out of this. Okay, you take it for free. I don't care എന്നൊരു സംഭവം വരും. I've gone through procurement a few times. Procurement teams will come in once the product has got buy-in. So I guess two things ഉണ്ട്. ഒന്ന്, a procurement team cannot say no to your product. That's a very big realization that we had. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ procurement team കുറേ ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ചോദിക്കും. If you tell the procurement team this is not going to work എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അവർക്ക് പ്രശ്നമാവും, because they have to sign a contract with you, right? It's not that they decide, it's that they're trying to maximize whatever they can out of it. രണ്ടാമത്തെ കാര്യം what I've realized is you can be aggressive with procurement teams because these are two separate departments. It's also a psychological thing. I don't know who decided to create the framework like this, but the reason why there is a separate procurement team in enterprise companies is so that you don't have a bad relationship with the champion or the person who decides these things, right? There always needs to be a bad person or a bad guy that you need to fight with, and as long as it's not the same person that you buy from, they're happy. If you look at it as this is a person who's trying to get the best out on their side, and I am here, I'm going to try and do my best to get everything on my side, it makes it a very interesting challenge for you. Who do you talk money? Hello? Who do you talk money with? All of these people. Product champion is the person who will tell you it's a non-starter or a starter. They'll be like, okay, നടക്കത്തില്ല എന്ന് പറയും. Budget person is the person who will be like, okay, I need this year budget range. Okay, fine. I think let's move into procurement. They're the person who makes the decision. Procurement team will come in and say, oh, we cannot do this. Price and you need to be prepared. Anytime you sell into enterprise, anyway, dealing with procurement teams, one of the things that we do, contract is we have a lot of things that are up for negotiation and a lot of things that are not up for negotiation. Right, so you have your list of negotiables, you have a list of non-negotiables. If I can diving into details, science of sales, diving into negotiations എന്ന് പറയുമ്പം specifically these are things that are negotiable for us. Very surprisingly, price is negotiable. Of course, price is negotiable. Everybody wants a discount. So price is negotiable. Specifically within the data space, data deletion or a clause that a lot of people ask for, that's negotiable. Security audits, it's very specific to us. To an extent, we put these things into our contract so that procurement teams can have wins. They can be like, idu pattathilla. Ee moonu karyangalum pattathilla ennu parayum. Okay, done, no problem, no worries. Price, ആരെങ്കിലും വന്നിട്ട് പറയും അതെ we cannot pay this price, absolutely not possible എന്ന് പറയും. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ പറയും, oh, I understand. Should I show you an example?
Still have plenty of questions? Check out the full masterclass on learn.kph.club.